Have you ever walked into a quiet room, caught a faint whiff of something unfamiliar, and wondered, is that coming from me? I know that's not the kind of question we usually say out loud, but if you've ever had that thought, you're not alone, and you're certainly not dirty. The truth is, as we get older, our bodies change in ways no one really prepares us for. Things that never used to be a problem, like how long we wear our pajamas or whether we air out our shoes, suddenly start to matter more than we thought. And let's be honest, no one wants to smell old, not because we're ashamed of aging, but because we still care about how we carry ourselves. We want to feel fresh, clean, and confident, even when we're just relaxing at home. The problem is, most women don't realize that it's not about doing more. It's about doing a few things smarter. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 8 everyday habits that could be quietly affecting the way you smell. Not in a scary, dramatic way, but in those subtle ways that add up over time. The best part? Every single one of them is easy to fix once you understand what's really going on. So let's talk woman to woman. This isn't about perfection, it's about dignity, self-care, and showing up for ourselves in the little moments that often go unnoticed. Because you deserve to feel good in your skin. And yes, that includes smelling lovely too. Let's begin. 1. Neglecting skin folds, the hidden source of body odor. Let's start with something no one really talks about, but every woman over 50 needs to know. It's the hidden areas. The folds of our skin that can quietly cause the most stubborn and surprising body odors. I'm talking about under the breasts, around the belly, in the groin area, and yes, even behind the knees. These are the warm, tucked away places where moisture, heat, and friction love to hang out. Now, most of us grew up thinking, if I shower, I'm clean. And that's true, to a point. But simply letting water run over these folds isn't enough. As we age, our skin naturally becomes thinner and loses elasticity. That's normal. But it also means that skin begins to sag and fold more, creating little pockets where sweat, oils, and bacteria can settle. If those areas aren't gently washed and fully dried day after day, they start to develop a faint sour or musty smell. It's not your fault, it's biology. But once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. I'll never forget one summer afternoon, years ago, when I was sitting in the garden reading. I remember catching this subtle, odd smell, like something damp that had been left out too long. I looked around for the source. Was it the cushion? The dog? Nope. It was me. And I was clean. I had showered that morning, but I hadn't paid attention to under my bust or the fold just below my belly. That was a wake-up call. Now, here's what I do, and what doctors recommend. First, don't rush your showers. Use a soft washcloth or gentle sponge to actually clean those areas. Don't just let the soap run down and call it a day. Afterward, pat them dry carefully with a separate towel. Don't rub, just press. And if it's warm or humid, consider using a bit of cornstarch or a medicated powder to keep things dry and breathable. This takes maybe 2 extra minutes in your routine. But the payoff is huge. No more lingering odor, no more discomfort, and definitely no more worrying about someone leaning in for a hug and catching a whiff of something off. Taking care of those hidden areas isn't just about hygiene. It's a quiet act of self-respect. And when you start paying attention to the parts of yourself that no one else sees, you begin to feel more in tune with your body. And that, my friend, is what graceful aging is all about. 2. Ignoring foot. Hygiene. The silent offender beneath us. Let's talk about feet. Yes, feet. The part of our body we tend to forget about, until one day we catch a strange smell and realize it's coming from down there. And here's the thing, it's not about being dirty. Most women, especially in their golden years, are clean. But foot odor is sneaky. It builds up over time, especially when we don't give our feet the attention they quietly deserve. I used to think, I wash my feet in the shower, that's enough. But what I was really doing was letting water run over them and hoping for the best. I wasn't scrubbing between the toes, or under the nails, or around the heel. I wasn't drying them properly, and I definitely wasn't giving my shoes a break. Until one day, I'll never forget this, I took off my sandals at a friend's house during a summer get-together. The air was warm, the food smelled amazing, and then I caught a whiff of something cheesy, slightly sour. And yes, it was me. That was my wake-up moment. Here's the science behind it. Our feet have more sweat glands than any other part of the body. Even if you're not walking much, even if you're just wearing slippers around the house, your feet are still producing moisture. And when that moisture gets trapped in socks or closed-toe shoes, bacteria and even fungus start to multiply. Combine that with dead skin and warmth, and suddenly your favorite pair of shoes becomes a portable odor chamber. So what can you do? First, start treating your feet with intention. In the shower, take a soft brush or washcloth and scrub gently between the toes, around the heel and under the nails. Afterward, dry them thoroughly, especially between the toes. Then use a light, non-greasy foot cream. If you want something antibacterial, look for one with tea tree oil or eucalyptus. And here's a tip I swear by. Rotate your shoes. Don't wear the same pair 2 days in a row. Let them breathe. Sprinkle a little baking soda inside overnight to absorb moisture and odors. Also, socks matter. Choose breathable, cotton-based socks that wick away sweat. Even in the summer, even at home. Trust me, it's not just about smell, it's about dignity. When your feet feel fresh, you feel more grounded, more confident, and you'll never have to worry about taking your shoes off in someone else's home again. 3. Re-wearing undergarments and loungewear when comfort turns against you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your favorite house robe or that soft old bra and thought, it's not dirty, I only wore it around the house? I used to think that way too. And for years, I convinced myself that if it didn't look dirty and didn't smell bad to me, it was fine to wear again. But here's the honest truth. Our noses get used to our own scent. Just because you can't smell it doesn't mean others can't. Clothing, especially things that are close to the skin like bras, tank tops, sleep shirts, and robes, absorbs more than we realize. Sweat, body oils, dead skin cells. Even if you're not out breaking a sweat, your body is still producing all of those things, and they get trapped in the fabric. Over time, bacteria start to grow, especially in warm areas like under the arms or beneath the bust. That's where that stubborn, stale smell comes from, the one people quietly associate with old age, even though it has nothing to do with how clean you are. I remember the moment it hit me. I was hugging my grandson goodbye after a weekend visit, and as he leaned in, I noticed a faint smell. It wasn't awful, it wasn't offensive, but it was noticeable. And I realized I'd been wearing the same pajama top for 3 nights straight. It felt cozy, sure, but it had been quietly collecting everything my skin gave off. After that, I made a small but powerful change. I started washing all my undergarments and loungewear more regularly. Bras, especially underwire ones, got laundered after 1 or 2 wears. Pajamas, fresh pair every other night. Robes, once a week, no matter what. And you know what happened? I felt fresher, cleaner, more put together even when I hadn't left the house. The bottom line is this: comfort shouldn't come at the cost of hygiene. And cleanliness isn't just about being presentable to others, it's a form of self-care. When you put on freshly laundered clothes, even if no one else sees you, it does something to your energy. It says, I matter, and you do. So next time you think, it's just around the house, remember, your body is always active, even when you're resting. Give it the freshness it deserves. 4. Masking odor with perfume, when more fragrance makes things worse. Let's talk about something many of us have done without even thinking twice, reaching for perfume to cover up a smell instead of actually dealing with the source. I'll admit, I've done it. There was a time when, if I caught even the slightest whiff of something off, I'd spray myself down with body mist or a favorite perfume. sometimes even twice just to be safe. And for a moment, it felt like it worked, until it didn't. Here's what most people don't realize. When you use strong fragrance on top of body odor, it doesn't cancel the smell, it just layers it. And the older we get, the more our natural body chemistry changes. Our skin holds on to scent differently. Hormonal shifts, diet, medication, all of it can affect the way perfume sits on us. What used to smell light and floral in our 30s can start to feel heavy or sour in our 60s. Worse, when mixed with sweat or unwashed clothing, even the nicest fragrance can become overwhelming or downright unpleasant. I'll never forget the Sunday I wore my favorite perfume to church. I was in a rush, hadn't had time for a proper shower, and thought, a few extra sprays will fix that. I hugged a friend during the peace greeting, and she said gently, "Oh, you smell strong today." She wasn't being unkind, just honest, and that moment stayed with me. From that day on, I changed how I approached fragrance. Instead of using it to hide something, I started using it only after I'd taken care of the basics: fresh skin, clean clothes, and a light moisturizer. I switched to lighter, cleaner scents and only applied them to pulse points, behind the ears, inside the wrists, never on clothing. Just enough to feel elegant, not overpowering. Doctors agree, when your skin is clean and neutral smelling, you actually need less fragrance to make an impression. It's like painting on a blank canvas instead of one that's already been scribbled on. So here's my suggestion. Next time you reach for that bottle of perfume, pause and ask yourself, am I adding this because I want to, or because I feel like I have to cover something up? If it's the latter, give yourself a little extra care first. Wash, moisturize, breathe. And then, if you still want a touch of scent, go for it. Not to mask, but to accentuate. Because nothing smells better than truly clean skin, and nothing feels better than knowing you're fresh, through and through. 5. Skipping deodorant at home, the small habit that backfires. Here's a question I bet many of us have answered the same way. Do I really need deodorant if I'm not going anywhere today? For years, my answer was a confident no. I figured if I'm just staying home, doing laundry, reading, watering the plants, why bother? But over time, I started to notice something I couldn't quite ignore. I wasn't moving much, but I still didn't smell quite right. The truth is, your sweat glands don't care if you're heading out to a dinner party or spending the whole day in pajamas. They're always working. And especially as we age, the way our bodies handle sweat and odor changes. Skin gets thinner, but sweat still gets trapped under folds, like the underarms, under the bust, and even between the thighs. And that's where bacteria love to thrive. Now, sweat by itself doesn't smell. It's mostly water. But when it mixes with skin oils and bacteria, especially in warm, enclosed areas, it produces that unmistakable sour or tangy scent. You know the one. And here's where it gets tricky. Because we're not exerting ourselves, we don't notice it happening. It creeps up slowly and silently until one day someone leans in for a hug or sits next to us on the couch, and we wonder, was that me? I used to think I was being kind to my skin by skipping deodorant. More natural, less product, right? But in reality, I was giving odor-causing bacteria a free pass. What changed my mind wasn't some ad or article. It was a moment of pure embarrassment. My daughter came over unexpectedly, gave me a hug, and I saw her pause. She didn't say anything, but I knew. That night, I added a natural deodorant back into my routine, even on my lazy days. Now, I keep a gentle aluminum-free stick right by the bathroom sink. I swipe it on after washing up in the morning, no matter what my plans are. Not for other people. For me. I feel fresher, more comfortable, and honestly, more put together. Even if all I do that day is sit on the porch with a cup of tea. If you're worried about ingredients, there are so many great options now. Baking soda-based, tea tree oil, charcoal. Just don't skip it altogether. Your body works hard for you every day. Give it the support it needs to feel clean and confident, even behind closed doors. 6. Not washing hair properly or letting it stay damp. Why your head might be the culprit. Let's talk about hair, not the style or the color, but something much more basic and honestly, much more important. How often and how well we wash it. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk over the years about not overwashing your hair. Preserve your natural oils, they say. And yes, there's truth in that. But what often gets left out is this. As we age, our scalp changes just as much as the rest of our body. Many women over 50 produce less oil on the scalp, but here's the twist. Our sweat glands and dead skin cells don't slow down all that much. Add in hairspray, dry shampoo, styling creams, or even natural oils, and suddenly your scalp becomes a magnet for buildup. This buildup doesn't just sit there quietly, it starts to ferment. And yes, I mean that literally. Warm scalp, trapped moisture, and product residue create the perfect conditions for a sour, musty smell to cling to your hair, especially at the crown and the nape of your neck. I had to learn this the hard way. One winter, I went a full week without washing my hair because it was cold and I wasn't going anywhere. I thought, why bother? But then my husband leaned in to kiss the top of my head and pulled back with a weird expression. He didn't say anything, but I knew. That night, I washed my hair, and as soon as the warm water hit it, I caught the scent. It was faint, but there it was, that slightly sour, stale odor I hadn't noticed before, and suddenly it made sense. From that day on, I changed my routine. I now wash my hair at least once, sometimes twice a week, with a gentle shampoo that won't dry out my scalp. I take extra care to rinse thoroughly, and most importantly, I always dry it completely. Letting your hair stay damp, especially close to the scalp, is like rolling out the welcome mat for mildew and bacteria. Clean hair does more than make you look polished. It helps you smell fresher, feel more energized, and avoid those moments where you wonder, what's that smell? Coming from your own head. And as I've learned, even when no one else is around, it feels good to know your hair is clean. Not for vanity, but for wellness. So if it's been a few days, or if your hair feels heavy or off, give your scalp a little attention. It might be the quiet hero that helps you feel fresh from head to toe. 7. Neglecting denture and dental appliance hygiene. When a clean mouth still smells bad. Let's be honest. Nothing knocks your confidence faster than realizing your breath isn't as fresh as you thought. And if you wear dentures, partials, retainers, or any kind of dental appliance, there's something important you need to know. Brushing your teeth isn't enough. I found this out the hard way. When I first got partials, I was careful. I brushed them, soaked them, at least for the first few months. But like any habit, routine turned into shortcuts. Some nights, I just rinsed them under the tap and plopped them in a cup by the sink. I figured, it's just me, who cares? But then one morning, I woke up, brushed my teeth like always, and still noticed a metallic, slightly sour smell in my breath. That was the moment I realized the odor wasn't coming from my mouth. It was coming from the appliance. You see, dentures and retainers collect bacteria just like natural teeth do. But they also trap food particles, plaque, and even yeast on their surface. If you're not scrubbing and soaking them properly every single day, they basically become a sponge for odor, and you're putting that sponge right back in your mouth. Even worse, if you sleep with them in, you're giving that bacteria a warm, dark, moist environment to multiply all night long. So here's what I do now. And what every dentist I've talked to recommends. I soak my partials every night in a proper denture cleaning solution, not just water. I use a soft bristled brush, not the same one I use on my gums, and I gently scrub every curve and edge. Then I rinse them thoroughly before putting them back in. It takes less than 5 minutes, but the difference, night and day. Your mouth is the gateway to your body. If something's off there, it affects your breath, your digestion, even your sense of taste. And when your mouth smells fresh, you feel more confident speaking up, smiling, laughing, and just being present. You don't need a perfect smile to have a clean one. What you need is a little consistency, a little care, and the belief that you deserve to feel good every time you open your mouth to speak. 8. Overlooking skin folds and creases, the most overlooked source of odor. Let's wrap up with something that's as real as it gets, those soft folds and hidden creases on our bodies that we don't always think about but really should. As we age, our skin naturally starts to sag a little. That's not a flaw. It's part of life. It means we've lived, loved, and earned every bit of softness and curve we have. But with those curves come new areas where moisture and heat can collect. I'm talking about under the breasts, in the groin, around the waist, under the arms, and even behind the knees. These places are warm, enclosed, and often covered by fabric all day long. If they aren't washed and dried properly, they can become breeding grounds for bacteria, yeast, and odor. And what starts as a slight dampness can turn into something much more uncomfortable, a rash, irritation, or that faint sour smell we've all caught a whiff of at one time or another. I learned this the summer I started walking every morning. It was hot and humid, and after a few days I noticed a raw spot under one side of my chest. It was red, irritated, and had a faint smell I hadn't noticed before. I thought maybe it was the sports bra, but my doctor called it what it was, intertrigo, a skin condition caused by friction, moisture, and heat in folded areas of the skin. The solution? It's simple, but you have to be consistent. First, wash these areas gently every day with a soft cloth. Don't just rely on water running over them, actually clean them. After your shower, pat dry with a clean towel. Don't rub. Rubbing can irritate the skin even more. And if you're prone to sweating or live in a warm climate, try using a light dusting of cornstarch or a medicated powder to keep things dry throughout the day. Some women even place a soft, breathable cloth, like a cotton pad, under the breast to absorb moisture when they're at home. There's no shame in that. In fact, it's smart self-care. These small habits may seem insignificant, but they make a world of difference. When your body feels clean and cared for, every fold, every crease, you walk through the world differently, a little lighter, a little prouder, and definitely a whole lot fresher. Now that we've walked through these 8 habits together, I want you to take a moment, just for you, and let something sink in. Smelling fresh isn't about vanity. It's not about impressing anyone or trying to chase some outdated idea of perfection. It's about how you feel in your own body. It's about honoring the skin you're in, the life you've lived, and giving yourself the dignity of feeling good from the inside out. Because here's the truth. Getting older doesn't mean you have to smell old. That musty, sour scent people talk about, it's not a part of aging, it's a result of habits we've picked up, often without even realizing it. And the good news is every one of those habits is fixable. No fancy products, no expensive routines, just a little awareness, a little consistency, and a whole lot of self-respect. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to care for yourself like you'd care for someone you love deeply, because you are that someone. Whether it's changing your pajamas more often, washing under your breasts with intention, or simply drinking more water throughout the day, these are quiet, powerful ways of saying to yourself, I matter. So if this video gave you something to think about, something to try, something to change, I hope you'll carry that with you, and maybe share it with another beautiful woman in your life. Because we're all walking this path together, and sometimes it just takes one honest conversation to remind us that we're not alone. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe. I share real, no-nonsense advice every week. Things no one tells you, but every woman deserves to hear. And if you'd like even more support, tips, and encouragement, sign up for my Savvy Senior newsletter. It's free, it's personal, and it's written just for you. Take care of yourself. You're worth it. Every crease, every curl, every beautiful breath.